morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, we are going to be addressing something that I have said countless times in these videos. We have talked over and over again about how Zacian V is kinda good, but it's not really good enough, and it needs just something else before it can really turn into a top tier Pokemon. Well, the good news is, it's got that something else. We're getting a new Pokemon Tools card, which is coming out purely to buff up Zacian V. And just in case this is one of the first Pokemon videos you've ever watched, and it might be, that was extremely sarcastic. Zacian V is the best Pokemon in the game right now. In terms of just attackers, it is the best Pokemon right now. Why this Pokemon is getting a Pokemon tool to buff just this Pokemon is absolutely baffling to me. Now, the tool in question is Rusted Sword, and if you've played the Sword and Shield video games, you will understand why. You will understand why this card is coming, because Zacian in the video games gets Rusted Sword to turn him into good Zacian, and that all makes perfect sense thematically. But in the context of the Pokemon trading card game, what they've gone and done is said, hey, you know that amazing Pokemon, which is the best Pokemon in the game right now, certainly the best attacker, and sees a huge amount of play, and is dominating the format? We just made it better. Why did you make it better? To put it into context, right, the Players' Cup is the closest we've had to a big official tournament since this whole pandemic rubbish kicked off. And in the Players' Cup, where you basically had one person who won an invitational toward Reklev, best player in the world, and a bunch of people that went through a grueling qualification period, 8 of the 16 played Zacian decks. It's ridiculous. I should probably tell you what the card does, though, shouldn't I? The attacks, and our translation of some lovely Antoine Boulet. We're big Antoine Boulet fans. The attacks of the Zacian V this card is attached to deal 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. So it takes Zacian's already amazing attack and makes it do an extra 30 damage. And just so we're clear, this is absolutely monumentally huge. And there's a very good reason for it. So Zacian generally, I mean, to be fair, Zacian's got an amazing ability which says that you essentially draw 3 cards, but if any of them are Metal Energy, you attach them to Zacian. But for free Metal Energy, you do 230 damage, and during your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. But we've seen the whole this Pokemon can't attack attacks over and over again. We got plenty of cards like Switch, you can retreat to another Zacian, etc. It's not a big deal. But generally speaking, 230 damage is just a little bit low. Now, single prize Pokemon, yes. Pokemon V, yes, the vast majority. There's the odd Pokemon V like Wailord which will survive, but generally speaking, you're getting a one-hit KO on single prize Pokemon, Pokemon V and Pokemon GX, except for a couple of Stage 2s. You're hitting a good number. But when you get up to tag teams and VMAXs, unless you're hitting for weakness, you're just not. If you look at something like Reshiram and Charizard, Mewtwo and Mew, Arceus and Dialga and Palkia, the real big tag teams around at the moment, they're all just out of reach. Reshiram and Charizard and Mew are there with 270, and Arceus and Dialga and Palkia, ADP as we generally call it, sitting there with 280, you're not KOing them. But of course, one of the main builds of Zacian here plays Arceus and Dialga and Palkia. It's got a GX attack for 2 energy, which lets you take an extra prize every time you take a KO, which is Cuckoo Banana's Good Nuts Broken. But it also means you do an extra 30 damage on all of your attacks for the remainder of the game, which is ridiculous. But wait! Now we put this all together, and Zacian's attack doesn't actually do 230. Once you use your GX attack, it does 260. But it's still out of range of these tag team Pokemon. But then you put Rusted Sword on, and all of a sudden you're doing 290. And now you're getting a one-hit KO on an Arceus and Dialga and Palkia. You're getting a one-hit KO. Now, to be fair, Mewtwo and Mew and Reshiram and Charizard, you could have done it already using either a Vitality Band or a Galarian Zigzagoon. But now you're getting Reshiram and Charizard, you're getting Mewtwo and Mew, you're getting Arceus and Alga and Palkia, and all of a sudden you're hitting 290 damage. It is beyond silly. It is absolutely monumentally dumb good. And it's going to make Zacian ADP even better. It was really not that long ago that I told you about Bryson and Sabrina. And that is essentially the new version of Belelba and Bryson Man, which lets you search for free Pokemon of different types. Which is amazing, because it's going to help you really set up in these Zacian ADP decks. Well, now this just got even better. I mean, Sabrina and Bryson, now I showed you a video about that. I also showed you a deck list. I'll pop those links in the description. But they just make the deck amazing. I mean, they let you search for 2 energy. So that's your water and your metal, which is what you need for ADP. And then it lets you search for, as long as you discard 5 cards from your hand, it lets you search for free Pokemon of different types. So generally speaking, you'll use Tag Call to search out Sabrina and Bryson and your ADP. And then your Sabrina and Bryson will search out your Zacian, a Dedenne and a Crobat. Dedenne discards your hand and draws 6 cards. Crobat draws until you've got 6 cards in your hand. So between the two of them, you're going to get a huge amount of cards drawn. Please make sure you play Crobat first. And the deck was already looking silly, and now we're rolling. Really, the only 2 questions that need to be asked about Rusted Sword are, will it hit numbers in enough matchups? And are there other tools we'd rather play instead? Now, in terms of hitting the numbers, ADP is the big one here. You've got Reshiram and Charizard, you've got Mewtwo and Mew, but of course we've had other options for them. Hitting 290, what it really does is it takes you into the vast majority of tag teams. There will be the odd tag team Pokemon you don't get a one-hit KO on. The legendary Bird Trio, you will actually be 10 damage short here. Moltres, Zapdos, and Articuno GX. But even then, I'm not terribly worried. The Galarian Zigzagoon does exist, but you're not going to be terribly worried about that one, if I'm honest with you. The thing is that VMAXs, you look at stuff like Morpeko, it is about the lowest we see, and you've got 300 HP. So you're actually not KOing VMAXs here. You are getting tag teams, but not VMAXs. But the tool has basically taken you from I am KOing Vs and GXs and single prizes to I am KOing Vs and GXs and single prizes, oh yeah, and tag teams, basically anything other than Pokemon VMAXs. And there's nothing to stop you poking with a little Pokemon first, getting an attack or 2 off with a Duraludon, for instance, and then coming in with Zacian. Of course, the other build that we see a lot with Zacian is the tanky build that plays things like Lucario and Melmetal, which reduces damage done to all your metal Pokemon for the rest of the game by 30. And this is a more interesting question, because that deck really wants to play Metal Goggles. And Metal Goggles reduces damage done to you by 30, so the combination here reduces damage done to you by 60. It's interesting that Metal Goggles doubles up on this GX attack, whereas Rusted Sword doubles up on ADP's GX attack. And I don't think you're going to play Rusted Sword in Lucario and Melmetal builds, because actually what we've got going on here is the tanking, and playing Rusted Sword will ruin the tanking a little bit. And you're going from 230 to 260, so you're still not getting a one-hit KO on Reshiram and Charizard, or Mewtwo and Mew. You're still falling short of the tag teams, even with playing Rusted Sword. And 230 will still get most of your GXs, the single prize Pokemon, the Pokemon V, etc. So I don't think you'd play Rusted Sword in a Lucario and Melmetal build. But I think in a Zacian ADP build, you absolutely will. Now, it does have competition with Big Charm. Big Charm gives you an extra 30 HP. You could use Cape of Toughness to give yourself an extra 50 HP, but Cape of Toughness won't work with ADP, which is why we're going to be playing Big Charm. And you've got to ask yourself the question whether the extra 30 HP is going to be crucial, or whether the extra 30 damage is going to be crucial. And the short answer is, it really depends on what matchup you're playing against, and whether 30 damage will stop a KO or 30 damage will get a KO. It's interesting to me that this is basically Silver Bangle, except Silver Bangle was designed to help non-EX Pokemon do more damage to EX Pokemon. It's basically Choice Band, but Choice Band only worked against EX and GX Pokemon, and this works against anything. Although, to be fair, generally speaking, you won't need it against anything other than VMAXs and tag teams and all of that. It seems weird to me that Pokemon have decided to buff up the best Pokemon in the game. But having said that, it is thematically appropriate with the video games. It's just super weird when you look at it in the context of the card game and you go, hang on a second, of all the Pokemon that needed help to be better and more competitive, this definitely isn't that. I mean, in terms of a score, I don't know, 4 Wassies. It's a weird card to score because it's either a Zacian deck or it's not. It's great in a Zacian deck. It's terrible outside of that. But I'm not giving it 5 Wassies because even in a Zacian deck, if you're playing Zacian with Lucario and Melmetal, I don't think you're going to want to play this. But I would be very interested to know what you think about this and whether you really think we needed another card to make Zacian even better. Go nuts in the comment section, but be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.